What's going on, guys? So, you guys asked for it, so we're going to go over the MS100 entries and all of the builds. Now, originally I was just going to do this set to music like I did with the Lupus for Lupus, and I guess I didn't do it for Balls for Balls. Maybe I just went over them all because that particular reveal stream seemed to be very long. So, I will be uploading all the pictures individually, not individually, but into the Facebook page later on if you want to check that out instead of watching this video. Now, I am going to be critiquing all of these things as well, so prepare for this video to be, well, kind of long, but it's what you guys voted for. Like 71% of you voted for this. So we're going to start out with the intermediate builds. I already have my notes from when I did my judging. And I think for the most part, the judges and I are all kind of on the same page. So if you wanted the individual thoughts, or we're all together on that. So, but let's get started with the intermediate. And I'm going to start where I started in the judging. And this is going to be Sam Sopa, who was real interested to know what I thought of his builds. And we're going to start with his MG Phoenix. Now, with Sam's build, his was interesting because while this is actually the MG Phoenix, which is chrome, he just matte coated the gold from what he told me. It's not actually painted, but he did, however, paint the inner frame, blue, which is good looking for what it is. I'm just not in agreement with that. I think that the only thing he's really lacking is any extra details. I do think that he did miss some nubs here and there, specifically like on the thumbs and fingers. I noticed a couple nubs, but for the most part, it's really, really well done. The water slides, I believe they are, the different unicorn decals and stuff are placed really well, blend in very nicely. The only other critique is that he has this nice dark photo booth setup, made out of what looks to be black cardboard or black painted cardboard, except for the fact that the pictures exceed that black background. And as somebody who has to do this kind of for a living, I understand that sometimes nothing fits, but I would suggest for next time, make a concerted effort to make it bigger or take it off the stand or something like that. And I believe posing is basically the only other thing that's lacking. I also know that he has a he has a certain affinity for unicorn kits, but it was a good job. It really was. Next up is Jerry Leal, and he did what I believe he called the Perfect Exia Strike, or what I would call Perfect Strike Exia. So a merger of the MG Exia and MG Isle Strike with some perfect pack kind of things. And he did an interpretation if Exia and Strike crossed over, including a ton of extra weapons based off of GN stuff, such as the GN Archer backpack, which to me doesn't necessarily fit in size-wise, but it's an interesting change up for the Isle Strike. He does have some decent weathering, pretty good detail work, and a lot of custom fitment, and a whole lot of pictures. Sometimes the weathering, though, can be a little too on the nose and maybe just a hair sloppy. Not everywhere, but just a few specific places. The paint also isn't super smooth. I don't know if it's just weather or just whatever, but some places that should be a lot smoother seem to have a little bit of orange peel, especially when you take some close-up pictures. That could just be the clear coat, though. Also, he integrated orange by replacing a lot of the green Jan stuff with orange, and I don't think it works with this color combination. The Perfect Strike coloring with the random colors of the different add-on parts already makes it a weird color combo, so adding the orange I don't think helped. I love the idea of using GN stuff to fill in for the weapons, like the big shoulder cannon, which actually I thought was weathered nicely. The custom bazooka that's GN powered from a Tyran is also really neat. The fact that he managed to engineer that is really cool. So just having really nice engineering and kit bashing skills was good. I won't say that it wasn't. And it's one thing we really liked about it. And the detail work was also nice. But once again, I think the orange didn't work in his favor this time. I think even just leaving the normal Exia green or maybe making it blue or something else might have made it blend in a little bit. The already ridiculous clashing colors wasn't helping you. Other critiques would have been just taking it in a neutral background. He took it on his workspace, as you guys can see, and it's very distracting having so much stuff in the background of every picture. Not to mention, a lot of times he had a playing card with his name written on it, which is fine, but it's like obvious in the pictures half the time. So, but it's a good job and it's a cool kit bash, Jerry. Next up is Erik Aguilar with a very interesting new reinterpretation of the Psycho Zaku with a interesting black and silver and red color scheme, even changing the eye color to blue. Now, I did something a little bit different with this entry, so to speak. So at the end down here, you'll actually see pictures I took of it, because he actually did bring it over here to the Shoki Cave to take pictures. The ones you're seeing now are the ones he took for his official entry. I took pictures of it, of course, when he was here, because you intended it to be like a builder showcase. I'm basically doing that now. When it comes to Erik, I'm very, very picky because he's a friend. I've seen his work for several years now, ever since I first met him at the New Year's Eve contest at the Vape Lounge. And I've seen his paint work get better and better. This one had some issues where clear coat clearly wasn't drying perfectly. I mentioned this in the actual winners thing. And yeah, just knowing Erik the way I do, he did get a little lazy with details. Like, he could have gone further, especially with the weapons, and needed to clean up the some of the alignment of the water slides, especially on that giant bazooka. Now, the main problem with Psycho Zaku is very, very minimal posing. You either get it in one big pose, or you have to break it down, which is essentially what he did throughout this. And that's allowed, you can do that, you can get it. Now, from here on out, these are my pictures that I took. Now, I noticed that he missed a few spots in the paint, especially on the backpack. And then in some places, I just need him to get it smoother. I get that it's a matte coat, but it doesn't come out smooth. And he does use Pledge for that, and that's fine. A lot of people do use that. But I want Erik to get better. I feel like he brought his B+ game, not necessarily his A game. It's a better paint job and a really cool paint scheme, but sometimes he rushes or he gets lazy and wants to finish quickly. It's just a fault that a lot of us have. He's pretty guilty of it. It's a very nice thing, and actually I think evokes a little bit of the Dom test type, which I'm a big fan of. So I'm okay with it. It's just, I want to see him do better. I think he can really do better even than he did. And I would really love to see an advance entry from him down the line. So when it comes to something that's this well done, it's super hard to critique. I also know that he was missing some bits. He might have got them installed by the time the official entry happened. He was missing a handle off of one of the bazookas on the back. See, like the Sturmfaust, I think he could have used some paint on them. Just detail work on the weapons. Otherwise, they just look like the same lumps of gray over and over and over. And like the folded arms, a few more details there, I would think would have been a little bit better off. And just, it's hard to critique something that's well done because you have to nitpick. And I hope that you guys understand that. A lot of it is not us getting mad at you. Oh, right there is actually one of his paint mishaps. And yes, I'm doing this while looking at the pictures live, but this is why Erik ended up being one of the winners, of intermediate, because he's just that good. But he can definitely get better, and that's what this is about. And next we have Jonathan RG, Jonathan Gross, who was both the not the intermediate winner, but the hotshot winner for this level. And of course, hotshot is a thing that we choose you to be in. You enter intermediate and improve to be better than that. And there's not much else to say other than this thing is ridiculous. We talked about it during the live stream. It's a very, very clean paint job. Really, the only real criticism is some slight silvering on the water slides. Other than that, the poses are limited as long as they're kind of held him back. Now, there is one other issue, and it's got to be just due to the way it was done. Some of the pictures, the format is a non-recognizable format. I don't know what it is, but at least in my software here, you'll notice that I'm recycling the photos again. There are more photos, but because of whatever the format is I've never seen before, I can't actually import them. It's really kind of strange, but other than that, he knows he did a really good job. Apparently, he was a hotshot winner last year, and I just completely forgot. So once again, proving that he's better than everyone else, but it's a good benchmark to have. In fact, like this would be a good target for Erik to beat. So he knows he did good. It's a fantastic build. So there's that. Up next is another friend of mine, Sam Turner, and I believe he was a first-time entry into one of my contests. And Sam has an interesting style. He tends to hand paint, but not in a way you would think. And I've seen his work now for a while. In fact, he was featured in a Builder Showcase swap a few years ago, and very interesting. So he did a goof custom, recolored it orange and some gold, did a good amount of heavy weathering and, you know, things just being beat up. But he's an example of how you can hand paint and still get your, you know, your intent across. While it's not perfect, it's also not super rough. And I think he may have done some spray paint. I could be wrong. I think he might have painted some parts spray paint and then the rest of it hand painted. I've seen him just sit down with the parts and just get absolutely filthy painting some stuff. And I like that he's got like stripped down parts here where you can see the underneath the frame and things like that. He did a really good job. Now, there's another hand painted entry coming up. In fact, it's the next one. So I'll talk about that more in a second. But that was a good job, Sam. I really do appreciate you jumping in. And I know the Goof Custom is not an easy kit because it is a much, much older thing to work on. But he even had the like minor effect part coming out of the Gatling gun, which was pretty cool, I'm not gonna lie. So hopefully we'll see more from Sam in the future. Rolling right into the next one, which was our only international entry, so therefore the only winner, was Vincent Lee. Now he did this 100 Grimgeared. We did talk about it on the live stream, so I won't go fully into depth here. But basically, did another hand painting job, but a very different example of what can be done. So the main suggestions we had for him was thin your paints out, do more coats, and I want to see a bit more detail. Like you did good work, don't get me wrong. I want to see a little bit more because you didn't paint the swords, you didn't paint the gray frame or anything like that. So you could do a little bit more. I like the custom cape. I thought that was interesting. And you had a good variety of photos and poses. It's a very posable kit, so it's good to work with. My only other criticism would be provide more pictures. Do some work in progress pictures next time. So just give us a little bit more to actually judge, you know? Plus, I love that shot of him beating down the Kamaris. Moving on, we have another one in intermediate, and it is from Lorenzo. And it's a neat recolor of the Alex 2.0, which I still need to build. But he did a good job. It's really interesting that it didn't get higher. Like, it's funny. He's only a few, like, percentage points below the next person up. It was a very nice paint job. Details are pretty good. I like the added orange ribbon. I like the, I think there was an MS100 logo or something to that effect. At very least, he does have orange ribbon. took a variety of pictures, either on his light stage or outside, added effect explosions and stuff. Poses were a little bit limited, and I don't know if that's just because of what it is. Most of the time, he's just got a super basic A stance, arms down by the side, legs split. But other than that, there's not a lot going on. So I think that's the one real drawback to the entry. Other than that, I mean, well, the funny thing is in a light booth, even some of the pictures aren't lit super well. But I like it. It was a definitely concerted effort. And you were literally only like a percentage out of placing. And because I'm going in no particular order, next up is the third place winner of the intermediate and the biggest pain in my butt for this entire contest. This would be David Voss. So he did a custom fusion of some Barbatos and some extra bits. I wrote it all down. I think Zaku Cannon, Vidar, Easy 8, and a couple other bits like that. The main problem with David is that he sent 12 emails full of pictures. And only like 3 or 4 pictures per thing. Next time, buddy, for the love of God, please just send it all as a Google Drive. Please. I'm smiling at you. Please do it. The build itself was actually pretty good. There were some painting issues as we discussed. Some things that looked like weathering that were clearly just probably the paint didn't dry the way he wanted to. The color scheme is a little mismatched, doesn't necessarily go together, and well, given this Barbatos, I guess that works to some degree. This is also a case where the orange doesn't necessarily work for it. I almost probably would have liked the gold replaced with the orange, maybe. He does have some custom bits, like the entire shoulder has been customized with, I believe, Vidar shoulder, I think. It's somewhere in the long description, and then he's got a arm-mounted cannon that I believe is from the Easy 8, and it's cool, but there's the big problem that you guys are kind of seeing. Lots of far-away shots, and I always think that when someone's taking far-away shots, they don't want me to see the stuff up close. But then he proves me wrong and starts taking more up-close photos. So there's that. He does give a decent variety of poses, also gives work-in-progress photos, which are always nice. You don't have to send dozens of those. But, you know, it is nice to see how you got where you did. And this kit is fairly well posable, even with a giant gun. But you see the problem here is that, okay, from a distance, it's cool, because you can see everything that's happening, and you can get cool pose shots. But once again, basing this contest on the fact that it is, you know, we need to judge the quality of the thing. More up-close photos is preferred. But you also notice he does have a good, solid background. I believe it was on a photo booth. So only the work-in-progress photos were distracting by having his workbench, which has dozens of nippers. I don't know what's going on with that, but hey, I wish I could have the mini nippers. But if you notice, we still haven't gotten up-close photos yet. So it's one of those things where, like, we had to judge him on that. So I think, had he taken the time to take a lot more up-close photos instead of us having to zoom in on many of them, I think he probably would have placed a little bit higher, to be totally honest. And if I remember correctly, coming up here in a second, we'll see a little bit of detail work that's kind of lacking or messy. Panel lining. If I remember correctly, there was a spot behind the knee that got some panel lining. I think. I believe it was this build. But I think he just needs to do a little bit more on the panel lining. It's just lacking in some places and then overly done in others, and it's a hard thing to do on a painted thing. I personally have a hard time panel lining painted kits. Yeah, it's the behind the knee thruster thing is where he's definitely got some issues. But then you see here, there's spots that just aren't panel lined. So slight inconsistency, but overall it was still a good job. But it's just those little inconsistencies and the fact that we only got in comparison, a handful of up-close photos. I do like the broken V-fin. It's a nice detail. And he does look like he's good for some type of army thing. Because, you know, the green color scheme and stuff like that. I'm just trying to show off all the photos here. So, even if you got to do a makeshift photo booth, I definitely suggest that for you guys. It can be as simple as a cardboard background, or even go by a little paper background, something like that. So you can do it. And last but certainly not least is the other entry by Sam Sopa. He put this one originally in the advanced category, but we definitely deemed it really only intermediate because there was nothing super special going on and he was being very outclassed. So we moved him down to intermediate, so technically he ended up with 2 intermediate entries, which is the opposite of what Gordon's builds did, which you'll see later. But this interesting Jesta with a tiger striped camo pattern, really bringing back some G.I. Joe days. And it's not that it's bad, it's just that it's not that clean. Now, he did say it was his first time ever attempting anything like this, so in some places the masking is a little sloppy. The base jabber is done really well, minus panel lining. Once again, it's a thing. Same thing with the Jesta itself. Could have used some panel lining, maybe break up the tiger a little bit more. Even the joints and stuff, I guess it's camo, so it's supposed to be a little hard to see, so to speak. I would have liked a little broken up, especially with the backpack. I think the backpack didn't need to be camoed. And maybe a little bit less on the arms, like the biceps and stuff. Could have just been a solid gray, just to break it all up. It is a nice job, and I like that he put the LED in the head and stuff like that. And then once again, come down to their critique of the shadow box kind of that he tried to build. Didn't really work out for him. I love the inclusion of the base jabber because that's not a cheap kit, which is really dumb considering. There's not a lot to say about it. He did a good job, and he was just very slightly outclassed. Now, the irony being, score-wise, the Jesta did better than the Phoenix, but I would argue that the Phoenix is a much better build due to the cleanliness, which is somewhat ironic, but that's why we have multiple judges. We see different things. On a technical aspect of all of the masking and ridiculous layering and things like that, sure, it's technically better, but I still argued that the Phoenix was a better build. So there's that. So once again, this is a case of we picked it to go back into intermediate to give him a better shot. But don't let that discourage you, man. You did a good job. Just do a little bit more in the future, maybe a little bit more detail on that gun, and work on poses. Those are just the main things lacking. Oops, I spoke too soon. I kind of forgot that this guy was classified in the wrong division. So this was Nino. He was in fact one of the main winners, and really cool version of the Strike Rouge Otori, repainted in silver and blue, called Ginkaku, and part of a dual thing that he made, Ginkaku and Rinkaku, I believe is what it is. So a gold and a silver. I really did dig this ultimately, and he said that he went for a super clean look with no stickers and stuff like that, and that's perfectly fine. But that was one of the minor critiques that I had, is that maybe you should have added some. It's fine, but he was just barely outclassed for the most part. Like, just barely, not quite there. Really clean paint job, very well done. I just kind of was left just wanting a little bit more from it. Just like, this is really good. Can you go a little bit further? And same thing with like the sword. I thought that maybe it could have used a little bit more detail. And there's a little bit of speckling, a little bit of roughness to the clear coat, or maybe that was just the paint finish. I can't tell. It was on the shield. But the choice of colors and a good color separation is nice. I think making the eyes stand out a little bit more. They are green, but they're super hard to see. I believe he said that he would pick either pink or green or something like that during the live stream to update it. But I think just because the eyes are so inset and so dark, just give him a bright color that would pop. I personally think orange would look really good. He said he's not going to do it. Actually, I like sort of the military look on the knife, that it does look like something like a K-bar. Pretty nice. Not gonna lie, I do like it. Never get me wrong. I like what he did. And there's a reason he won one of the prizes, It's just that, I don't know. I just want a little bit more. Just a little bit more. Like an extra 5% would have let him be a little bit higher up. Some of the pictures are iffy. Poses are very nice. There's not too much more, to say about it. I've actually really liked this particular pose. So it's really well done. You know, I appreciate you jumping in. I also love this photo with the thing. Nobody else posed with their own belts. I like it. And then last, here you go with the team together. So guys, at this very moment, I decided to go ahead and split this into 2 videos, so that way the intermediate guys get their day in the sun, and then the advanced will get theirs hopefully tomorrow if I can get it done, or if I just get it done by the end of this day. Mind you, I'm speaking in the future. That's what YouTube time travel is all about. Thank you all for definitely entering and trying your hardest. And now you know what it takes. Like, you see, this is why I always tell people, don't post your builds until it's done, until everything's over, because then you're going to give the other people notice that they should kick up their game. While that's good for competition, it also might leave you short-handed on trying to finish your build and up your game. But I hope everybody comes back next year and maybe we get some more exposure, we grow a little bit more as a channel. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comments about the different builds. If there's any other ways that you think that people could maybe improve, by all means. If you think that I'm a jerk, well, I'm sorry. I'm just being honest with you guys. I wasn't being mean to anybody. Everybody got their fair shake. And in contrast with some people who, you know, say like our hand painters. One guy's been doing it for a long time. The other guy's fairly new at it. And then some of these guys, it's their first contest ever to enter, even of this type. So I appreciate everyone who did it, and now you know what the bar is, especially for the levels that you entered. So this is all intermediate, and then even the guys who wanted to go a little bit higher but weren't quite there yet. I would say that Erik is so close to being a hotshot candidate, but Jonathan is like the next level. So that's what Erik needs to work on. Jonathan, I would say just minor details and posing, just depending on the kit. Obviously, you're really good at what you do, as we've seen. It's just, if you're gonna have a kit that has limited stuff, you've got to do a little bit more. You know, there's got to be something else. Also, more pictures. Make sure that the files are either JPEGs or PNGs or anything like that. That's just a normal basic file. I do not recognize this other type of files like HIEC or something like that. I think that's supposed to be some kind of high-res files. And I believe next year I will try to do just a Google Drive setup that everyone can upload a folder to, instead of trying to do it via the email. That way we have a fairly consistent thing, as long as we don't exceed, you know, the 15 gig limit, which I think should be doable. I think that'll make it a lot easier for everyone, even the judges specifically, to do it, as long as people can just upload, not manipulate. But these guys all did a great job. A lot of different levels of creativity, whether it's a straight paint job, whether it's trying to build a little diorama, pushing your boundaries, which is really what these contests are about. Pushing yourself harder than you thought you could, trying out something new, and whether that's going to be maybe some edge shading next time, working on your details, cleaning things up a little bit more, taking better pictures, not sending as many emails. Once again, that's if the drive's set up, then that won't be an issue in the future. So, but once again, guys, thanks for getting in on this. Thanks for building. Thanks for being a part of this community, and of course, thanks for donating to the charity. I will do the advanced one really soon. Slightly shorter list to get through, but I'll see you guys then.